say the doctors can help us 30%. The resident neurologist who used to have here, Sylvia just mentioned his name.
Toth?
Oh,
Doctor, I know who he is, yeah.
Yeah, when I went to him, he wanted to give me some Balta. I said, Dr. Toth, what do the studies, the original studies say on the success rate of this drug?
Yeah.
And, well, he says it's 1 out of 3.5. In other words, 2 out of 7. So that might even reduce the 30%.
Right.
More.
Frustrating though, right?
But I don't want to break up anybody's belief system. If they're getting results and believing it's helping, that's fine.
Well, no, and that's what, you guys, this is the hard part with pharmaceuticals, right?
And then they don't take into consideration nephrotoxins, neurotoxicity, and further peripheral neuropathy.
Yeah.
And on and on.
By a lot of the pharmaceuticals.
And this is why, you guys, this is so complex. So that's what I'm saying, like, I know. And then what happens, generally people have to try Compodian and different medications, you know, and you try this, you try that, you know, lots of, you know, there's antidepressants, all kinds of drugs that people will prescribe. But finding a right fit and something that actually takes the edge off is hard. So I agree.
In your practice, do you ever give out any natural alternatives? Like,
You know, in my, yeah, like, yes, I see a lot of my patients, some use opioids, some use the traditional med, some use medical marijuana, some use relax. So there's a whole compendium of what I see in my practice.
well, do you see people using certain types of herbs or supplements?
Yes, yes, absolutely. So
But you don't recommend anything?
I can't prescribe. As a psychologist, I can't recommend. What I can recommend is I've seen, you know, when people go to, for example, a naturopath and they'll prescribe certain herbs for pain, I've seen that help people. So I'm open to any of these. Like I like alternative medicine, you guys. I don't think between that and exercise, I have a naturopath I use. So, you know, I do believe that it really helps. But I can't say specifics.
I think so what's difficult is it's chronic pain. It's not invisible. And when we go to the specialists or doctors or whatever, you know, unless you're in pain or chronically crying or you're, you know, we're using the equipment to get into the office and the appointment, you know, it doesn't seem to be understood by some specialist doctors and practitioners and that. So again, somebody, like in what you said at the beginning, and what you guys did to teach these young students, more, and we're doing it from what you said at the beginning here, you know, but it's invisible, and so friends and relatives and doctors and that,
Yeah.
you know, even going into a bloody, what do you call it, emergency.
Yep.
And you're at I can't take it, you know, I just want to lay down and go to sleep, and they can't see it. So you're like secondary, well, 10th on the list instead of taking them
Absolutely.
down. And, you know, so like our group like this, you need word of mouth going out.
Well, and it's a real, and speaking to that, that's a really good point, because the thing is to me, chronic pain is an invisible disability, you know, and treated as such by healthcare practitioners. I've seen people, if they have a disabled parking pass, especially younger people, yeah, and I've seen people with disabled parking passes coming in and people in the, you know, just in the parking lot to, you know, really being nasty to them, saying, why have you got a disabled pass? You don't look disabled. And this is one of the hardest things, you guys, because when you seek medical care or friends and family, well, they don't understand. Why are you still in pain? Why the doctor gave you medicine?
Yeah.
Why aren't you getting better? You know, is there something wrong with you? This is why there's such a high depression rate. Because what happens is our self-esteem, you know, and that's how we feel about ourselves, tanks, goes down. And then also the other part of self-esteem is called self-efficacy. And self-efficacy means the belief of control that we have over our lives. And when we're quagmired as chronic pain patients in the medical system, which all of us are, is we start always, you know, it's all the professionals telling us what we should do. Do you see what I mean? And then we lose our instinct. And I'm saying here, we need to get our instinct back and listen to ourselves. And that means, unfortunately, where we don't often have the energy, we have to fight.
Well, but even what he was saying, like alternative care. You know, like if you go to a professional and you're saying, well, what about alternative care instead of all these other drugs? And they see you have to take this drug in order to be that painful level, and that's not right either, because there are alternatives, herbs and supplements and that do work if you can find them and use it, and we're all individually different.
Absolutely, and this is the thing, is I think there's a place for all of it, and I think, but again, in saying that, is not going on, as I call Dr. Google, you know, and if, you know, alternative medicine, a naturopath is a chemist. Naturopaths basically have a degree in chemistry, biochemistry. So going to the right person for alternative treatment is the way to go if you're going to do that, because I don't disagree. I love alternative medicine, and I think it has a place in chronic pain. It has a big place. But again, going to the right person, not just going on Dr. Google, and if your neighbor took Ferrocunum, oh, I'm going to go and get curry powder, take it. No, you know, but go to the right person. And I agree, because the thing is our bodies are complex. So to me, a naturopath, like for example, I have a naturopath and I have a medical doctor. And each one knows about each one, and they kind of work together. So it took a long time to get that kind of alliance. But that's where, you know, looking at all, and that's why I'm saying.
How did you get them to work together?
Well, I had to train my medical doctor. I've got him now, so when I go in there, he gives me a copy of all my blood work. I take it to my naturopath, and they kind of go back and forth. So it was a fight. And I had to really do a lot of education to my doctor. And he kept going, you know, why, you know, you're managing good, like I'm diabetic as well. And for years, my blood sugar was so good, he couldn't figure it out. I said, that's because I go to a naturopath and he gives me this other stuff, you know. And so again, it's education. So in getting them to work together, yes?
So I say, I think in all health professions and allied health professions, some practitioners seem better than others, or that maybe you can relate to better than others. And
Yes.
It's really important to find the right fit for you. And I particularly find that something like naturopathy, there is quite a spectrum, and there are some that are kind of way out there, and some that are base, and some that can work with doctors more, or whatever. And so I think you have to find a
And I totally agree, because there's some when you go to a naturopath and they're going to do this, that, and the other thing, and then cost you a whack of money. And again, this is why I can't reiterate it enough, you guys, you know, we lose our gut instinct, you know, and if you walk in, whether it's to a doctor or to a naturopath or physio, and it just doesn't, do you know what I mean? If it doesn't feel right, my advice, run, find somebody else. Do you know what I'm saying?
You're making a doctor. I mean, if it's not working out for a long period of time, it's time to change and see if somebody else's ideas. You can always go back to your doctor. Because he doesn't know where the heck you are anyway.
Well, and again, even for natural medicine or people on medical marijuana, I see that I have a number of patients that's come in and their doctors have said, if you're going to use medical marijuana, you're out of my practice. Whoa, you know, and I just say to people, well, you know, whatever works. You know, and I think with pain, with chronic pain, we have to be creative. And there's no one size fits all, you guys. But again, we're just remembering, going back, the ball is in our court for at least 70%. And like pain meds can only do 30. And when I say pain meds, I'm talking traditional pharmaceuticals, I'm talking natural, I'm talking medical marijuana, I'm talking all of that stuff. So the rest, so how do we do the 70%? And that's why I'm here. So
it's our choice. It's called choice.
Absolutely, yes.
Does absolutely nothing show up in the blood work when you have RA or arthritis of any kind?
Okay, that's good, because actually with rheumatoid arthritis, with the rheumatoid factor, there's about 35% of people that are tested for rheumatoid arthritis, and I was one of them, that it never showed up in my blood work. And so a lot of times people will go, a doctor will actually send you for an RA test or arthritis test, and it doesn't show up, so it just glosses over. But as my rheumatologist taught me, there's more than, you know, the blood factor, but getting past your medical doctor, that, you know, that prism that they have, if your RA factor shows negative, and getting, you know, really insisting with your doctor to say, no, something is still wrong, is hard, because medical doctors do not want to refer to a specialist unless this blood work shows. But again, the research shows us there's a
So where would they go from there? Their blood work doesn't show anything.
You fight. You have to go back to the doctor or find another doctor, say, look, I've still got pain and swelling, nothing's getting better, you know, and again, it's really hard because it's on us. And you know, to be honest, by the time I did that, my hands were destroyed. I couldn't bend, and so, you know, it's hard.
There's a high false negative with EMG studies for people with neuropathy.
Oh, totally.
Very high.
And so this is what's happening, is understanding that you guys, we have to be soldiers with pain and fight. And it's really hard because when we're in pain, our coping resources, our arsenal of energy is usually pretty low. But the more education, you know, that we can do, the better. Because again, we cannot rely on a single doctor or a single practitioner. We've got to shop. It's a consumer society, believe it or not, and in healthcare it's consumer too. You know, and so that's what we have to do, but not so easy. So, getting on here, so, okay, so now, one thing is that usually when we exercise, a lot of times when I was saying earlier, when we exercise, we get these endogenous endorphins, like we get natural painkillers released in our body. However, with some neuropathies, and diabetic neuropathy included, we don't get that sort of runner's high all the time with diabetes, like with foot and that kind of thing. But just because we don't get what I call a little, you know, this natural painkillers, there is a lot of benefits with exercise with neuropathy. And again, what this means at the bottom is, yeah, we didn't get the runner's high, but it doesn't mean there's benefit. Does that make sense to you guys? So the reason, again, what we're looking at is that for exercise makes us feel better. It helps with depression, it helps regulate our mood, it helps with circulation. So there's a lot of things exercise does, but again, just understanding with pain. So again, and exercise does not meaning just going to the gym. So again, the reduction of depression and mood. Yes?
Do we know why people with peripheral neuropathy don't get that runner's high?
Again, I think it's a circulatory where, again, the electrical system, our wiring system, is not signaling to the brain to release the endorphins because there's damage to the pain sensors. So that's what's hard, because, you know, people go, well, I didn't, you know, feel all good, but I said, well, that's just for a small number of neuropathies. So, but a lot of people with neuropathic pain do get benefit, but this is just in case you feel you're not getting it, you are. So again, now, exercise, now what I'm talking about is independence. And again, when diagnosed with chronic pain, a lot of people lose their independence and confidence. And yeah, and I'm seeing that. And this is why, I mean, we're on a war to try to fight what kind of exercise, how can I look after myself better without getting so dependent on the medical and not getting super depressed. Does that make sense? Again, getting out. Even if you went to an exercise class and you do sitting down exercise, there's more to it. You're socializing, you're getting out, you're being with other people. And I gotta tell you, in my field, I see a lot of people that become very isolated. They stay home. Like, I'm happy to see you guys out here today. It's like, yay! I mean, I've treated some people whose pain is so bad. I had one lady who lived in a basement bedroom and wouldn't come out. She wouldn't even, she'd given up. You know, so that's what I'm saying, because pain, when we can't find a resolution to pain, we give up. And yeah, I'm saying...
And if the doctors are not listening for whatever reason, and you're going there, they should at least, especially depending on looking at seniors and that, and then there's other categories, but, you know, they offer in-home services so that they do get the social, but they also get those other ideas and that. But again, it's about money.
And this is where, again, I wish we could all be political animals, and it's going to be advocacy, having groups like this. Super important, you guys, because I was just up at a psychologist meeting in Edmonton on the weekend, and they were saying they did a presentation to the Alberta Health and they're trying to get more counseling for people in general. And you know what it came down to? They were turned down because counseling, like going for care, it's been shown to reduce opioid use. And now, this is, we have this thing on opioids, and the research shows us that if people can have access to appropriate counseling, again, the right practitioner, that there's been showing that opioid use can come down, pain management gets better, because people become more independent and they feel better, right? They're less depressed. But the Alberta Health Services has just turned down from the Psych Association a big effort to try to get funding. So you're right, it comes down to dollars and cents. As a senior, I'm a senior as well, there's limited money out there. Blue Cross pays $500 for counseling or something a year.
Or there was just a course through my friend here offered to Calgarians that, tell seniors especially that what's all available to them, but the word is not getting out to them when a change happens and what you're entitled to for free or part of your senior benefits or whatever. And, things like that would be nice to be put onto organizations like this to say, like CARP is pretty good, they're pretty up on things, right? And so you want the word to go out. So an email should go out like to the Neuropathy, to whatever association changes, but they don't. And then we find out a year or two or never until somebody.
And again, it's going to take time, you guys. But the good news is, there is good news here, is that medical and like the Psychologist Association, there's a lot of organizations out there saying, hey, we have a big problem. So it will come, is what I'm saying, but it is going to take all of us getting involved. So now one of the things I want to get back to too is, how do we look after ourselves? We have limited money, I'm assuming, limited resources, and we know 30% pain management is pharmaceutical, whether natural or whatever. So my suggestion here is, again, is socializing, getting out, trying to walk. Even if you do, 25 years ago I wrote a book on wheelchair fitness. And there's, again, because I used to teach wheelchair fitness. So you know what, even though we may not be able to get out of our house, if we can just do, wheelchair fitness, chair fitness, some yoga, the one thing we have to remember is to move. So moving in whatever capacity you can, socializing, getting out. Even if you take the dog for a walk, I get so many people, they say to me, I can't do anything, and I'm going, you walked here. You came from your vehicle to my office. You got here. I said, yes, you can. So, and this is one thing you guys got to realize, because out there in the media, we always think exercise is all this great big thing. Exercise is cumulative. 10 minutes walk around the block 3 times a day, amazingly good for us. It's cumulative. So exercise does not mean going and, pumping iron all the time, you guys. So it's just a little bit and often. If you're really sore, a shoulder's sore, sitting down, and this is what I'm saying about you guys taking control. Because we know chronic pain people, it's a hidden disability. Invisible disability we're dealing with. So we have to kind of take that into consideration. What can I do? So when mood gets down and we're feeling overwhelmed, this is where, again, move. Believe it or not, any kind of movement improves mood, because we get our circulation going. And again, some of these endogenous endorphins start kicking in. Does that make sense to everybody? Yeah? Okay, good. So that's why, it's not that I'm here to say exercise fixes everything. It doesn't, but it's part of the procedure. So again, what I'm looking at is independence. Because who in here feels a victim sometimes? Anybody ever get that where they just feel victimized? Yeah? Yeah. Or frustrated? Yeah. Frustrated, not heard? Yeah. So again, looking at understanding that, the more we can do independently with our limited funds, it's amazing what we can do with soup cans if we have to. Just small stuff. But again, understanding that we need to take control. Does that make sense? Does anybody here been in a motor vehicle accident or been hurt, injured? Okay, and what was the process like?
For me, I was squished between two cars. I had learned to walk and talk again. And I tell you, for over 20 years it was not easy.
Right.
You know,
11 years to settle, I think they just wanted me to eventually pass away.
yeah, yeah. When you're hooked up and you hear everybody talking, you can't talk. Even they can hear them, you know. So rude, people don't have feelings now. So, you know, you have payback later though.
But waiting to settle. And again, so the rule of thumb, and I see a lot of people in litigation, and one hard part is, again, your destiny is in the hands of others, right? So what I'm suggesting here to you guys is I'm saying take back. Take back your destiny. Do you know what I'm saying? You take it back, and I would suggest you make a list. What can I do? What can I do? What do I need help with? Do you know what I'm saying?
Well,
But
I must say, when I was recovering, I was very fortunate. You need to have advocates. You need to have support systems. Sometimes you cannot do it on your own to get
Absolutely.
that step 3 or whatever. Like, you know, so even as we're aging, even when you're younger, you need sometimes just take somebody with you to the doctor. And you do the talking, but even with that person sitting there, they don't say a damn thing. That doctor specialist is listening to you because of witness.
And I couldn't reinforce that more.
Yeah.
So, you know, when you guys are going, whether you go for physio, you go to your doctor, you take somebody with you, because you're right. Because it's not just you and the doctor. Interestingly enough, I do a fair bit of WCB work, and when they go for an independent medical exam, they cannot take they can't take their cell phone in, they can't take their code in, they can't go have anything in there. And it's just like, I kind of always surprises me, because for me, when I go for even my own doctor, I'll usually drag my husband, very unwillingly, of course, but he comes. And he doesn't say a word. I tell him, oh, just shut up. I've been married 38 years, so I tell him to be quiet. But it's just that peace of mind, right, of having another person. Because again, you guys, and whether you have a daughter or son or somebody, if no husband or wife, bring somebody, because you're right, yours perk up. And that kind of support is really important.
It's documented. It's always documented.
Yeah.
So you will get more if you take someone, you know, heck with this thing that is privacy. I don't want nobody knowing about me.
Yeah.
You know what? We're getting older, like the God say.
Well, and it's again, it comes with utilizing support systems, and so again, is working with this. And the hard part is too, is that if you guys are being independent and you go to an exercise class or whatever it is that use your voice. I always say, use your voice. So let's say you're going to an exercise class, you know, and like, for example, I swim out at Airdrie, and I used to teach the Airdrie seniors aquasize, right? And I always used to say to them, okay guys, if you can't do this, just don't do it, and I'm not going to yell at you, just do what you can. Now the hard part is when we go to exercise classes and we're exercising, and trust me, I have a degree in physical education, and I used to be up there teaching all this, you know, the Jane Fonda days, I used to be one of those, right? Let's go, you know, right? And, okay, so now, when we go to exercise classes and our kids might take us there or do whatever, the important thing here is that listening to yourself. If it's too hard and your body says, no, stop, you know, and little is best. You see, small increments, you know, it's like that whole thing of the weekend warrior goes, we're going to the mountains tomorrow, and it's like, I'm going, oh yeah. So, you know, we'll see all these weekend warriors out there hurting themselves. And again, when we go to physio or any exercise, this is what I'm saying, you guys, take your life back. Do what you can, do not be bullied. And sometimes I know, like, if you have knee surgery, I know the physios, they just kill you, they put you on a bike right after, that's different. But with chronic pain, especially neuropathic pain, you don't want to have a flare, but you guys have to understand how important it is to keep moving. So you do what you can, you know, and whether you ice, whether you heat after, whether you stretch, those are all critical components. Not just going for a walk, it's that flexibility, that stretching, but what you tell people what you can do. Do you see what I mean? You ever had a pushy physiotherapist? Anybody in here? And what'd you do with that?
Left.
Yeah, left, right? Well, you should do this, right? It's like, boom, no. So again, with chronic pain, it's, you guys, I want you to be renegades here. You have to tell yourself what your limits are and stick to that. Still pushing yourself a little bit, right? But not to the point that you can't walk for 2 days after. Do you see what I'm saying? So this is what I mean about listening to yourself, because chronic pain, we lose that.
I used to teach exercises with seniors when I wasn't one. And one of the things I used to say, I'm going to say we're going to do 8 reps, or repeat this and move your arm or whatever 8 times. If you say 2's enough, then 2's enough for you. Every one of them, somewhere in the course of that training, said to me, you're the first person that's ever said that. Don't try to keep up with me.
Well,
And I thought, that's terrible.
but that is why, this is why I did a lot of, because I still retain my certification as an exercise physiologist, that's why I'm out there speaking to the professionals to educate them. Because again, with chronic pain, you know, it's do this because I'm the professional, and professionals lose sight that should be honest with you. When somebody says they're in pain, they're not lying. You know, and there's a lot of stuff out there. This is why people get really depressed and they get really anxious, and that's when I see them. You know, they're so down. They're taking a zillion antidepressants, they're anxious, and again, because they've lost confidence in themselves. Do you see what I'm saying? So don't be afraid to say no. Yes?
I think in a lot of these senior programs that the instructors are more aware now.
Yes, I
And,
do.
I know how many times when they're doing an exercise, if you can't do it or whatever you do is good, you don't have to do the 8 or 10 reps.
Absolutely.
And if you have had an operation of sorts, you'll do this rather than whatever. So I think they are definitely more aware.
It's definitely,
And
definitely.
it's not as competitive that you have to keep up to it, but
Yeah.
just do what you